Hi, my name is Delvin Anak Dicard and I'm from HN1114A and I am from Group 9. Today, me and my group members will be presenting our group report for the subject of Principles of Economics ECO 120.
Assalamualaikum, my name is NURUL BATRISYIA BINTI SUDERMAN.
Assalamualaikum and hello doctor, my name is NURUL Dr Thalany and I'm from class HM1114A.
First off, the introduction. The outbreak of the coronavirus COVID-19 has spread all over the world and countries in Asia are the worst affected. Malaysia is no exception. This outbreak has been categorized as a pandemic by the World First off, the introduction. The outbreak of the coronavirus COVID-19 has spread all over the world and countries in Asia are the worst affected. Malaysia is no exception. This outbreak has been categorized as a pandemic by the World Health Organization (WHO). Malaysia soon had an increasing number of cases, up to 4,000 cases to date. Malaysia is now already facing the economic crisis and is expected to worsen if the pandemic prolongs and the Movement Control Order (MCO) is forced to be extended. The newer positive cases are being reported, the further the economic ecosystem of Malaysia will be disrupted. Countries in East Asia are all facing global financial shock and recession, which will potentially lead to an increased poverty rate. In addition to the public health catastrophe, the COVID-19 has had a significant impact on the world economy and financial markets. The most well-known economic impact on the world implication of the pandemic are reduced income, increased unemployment, and chaos in the public transportation, service, and industrial industries, all of which are the result of disease mitigation measures or activities implemented in various nations. In essence, the COVID-19 entails simultaneous supply and demand disruptions. As a result of the preceding repossession, to be more specific, the great uncertainty regarding the pandemic's direction, duration, severity, and impact might create a vicious cycle of dwindling company and consumer confidence and tightening financial conditions, leading to job losses and investment. Overall, COVID-19 pandemic has spread at an alarming rate, infecting millions of people and bringing economic activity to a halt as countries enforced harsh mobility restrictions to halt.
Firstly, I want to discuss about the summary of the microeconomic issue. For your information, microeconomic concerns are one of the most critical issues in our life day by day. Microeconomic highly connected and integrated society. The disease impacts have been visible beyond mortality and morbidity. Furthermore, the health of the microeconomic influence the micro choice of individual business.
I will continue with discussion based on the microeconomics theory. Okay, microeconomic studies is economic activities and decision making as a seller or consumer, household, firm, and government. General question about microeconomics is to go to business school or take a job. Also, what determines the salary offered by a company. So based on the current situation, the pandemic COVID-19 made a lot of people unable to get a job. Okay, they were also laid off because the employer had to follow SOP and had to be laid off the employer because it was not enough to pay the employees' salary. Okay, look at what has happened to the pilots and flight attendants. They had to be fired because of the pandemic that did not allow tourists to make flights to domestic or foreign countries. This has affected the country's economy in the field of tourism as a result of this pandemic. Okay, next is the potential benefits that an individual investor or organization miss out on when choosing one option over another are referred to as opportunity cost. In economics, the concept of opportunity cost is very important. The COVID-19 pandemic, on the other hand, has had a significant economic impact on Malaysia, especially among vulnerable households. Following the revision of its national poverty line in July 2020, 5.6% of Malaysian households are now living in absolute poverty. The government is focusing on a well-being of poorest 40% of the population. The low-income group is still particularly vulnerable to economic shocks. Rising living costs and mounting financial obligation. Malaysia's economic inequality is still great compared to the other East Asian countries. However, it is rapidly decreasing. Okay, while the bottom 40 have outperformed to the top 60 in terms of income growth for much of the last decade, the absolute difference between income categories has grown, adding to common impression of the poor being left behind. Okay, following the elimination of birth-based subsidies, the government has gradually shifted toward more target support for the poor and vulnerable, mostly through cash transfers to low-income households. Also, Malaysia ranks 55th out of 157 nations in the World Bank's Human Capital Index. Okay, Malaysia will need to make greater progress in education, health and nutrition, and social protection to fully fulfill its human potential and achieve the country's aim of being a high-income and developed country. Okay, improving the quality of education to enhance learning result, rethinking dietary strategies to minimize childhood stunting, and providing enough social welfare support for household investment in human capital building are all high priority topics. RP fell further year-over-year in April 2020 to a negative 5.5% from the negative 3.6% in March 2020 due to a negative contribution from the number of residential units allowed for building and the number of new enterprises registered. This situation demonstrates that the construction industry is crumbling due to a lack of demand. Yet, no new business is being developed since everyone is trying to save existing businesses from closure.
Next, the Malaysian economy is having an impact comprehensively from the COVID-19 pandemic in the second quarter of 2020, with output gross domestic product GDP decreasing by 17.1%, mainly due to implementation of the MCO, which is Movement Control Order, to curb the spread of the epidemics. Although the implementation of PKP, also MCO, affects all economic sectors, the move necessary for leveling the COVID-19 curve to save lives. Based on the economic concepts, choice is needed due to unlimited ones and limited resources. It consists of many parties which have to make choices such as the society, consumers, producers, and the government. To highlight more on the government roles, the government has announced various economic stimulus packages amounting to ringgit 305 billion to support households and businesses. The gradual opening up of the economy also supports economic growth and is expected to improve gradually in the second half of 2020 to balance significant contraction in the first half. Accordingly, GDP is projected to decline by 4.5% in 2020 before soaring between 6.5% until 7.5% in 2021. Following decisive action taken by the government, Malaysia has been recognized as among the most successful countries in controlling the impact of pandemics on the social economy. Companies, on the other hand, are also affected by the pandemics. The majority are demand and pricing considerations for their goods, services, and other items. One of the market scenarios in which corporations are involved is one in which demand is experiencing an exceptional reduction. This has a greater impact on the food service, airline, and hotel industries. As their competitors try to entice the few remaining clients, many of those businesses are requesting huge discounts and new terms, sometimes at prices much below cost. However, we believe that price is no longer relevant for many businesses in this quiet market. Following the implementation of health and safety measures, they should concentrate on preserving cash reserves, essential assets, and talent in order to survive the crisis and fight again. Serving a few price-conscious customers at a loss is never a good strategy to create a sustainable business. Nonetheless, during this pandemic, actions to obtain rights are always required. One of them is to make sure that pricing is done in an ethical, legal, and community-friendly manner. It is not the time to raise prices on essential goods and services or to cancel contracts during a humanitarian catastrophe. Certain sorts of collaboration with competitors and other market reactions may be subject to antitrust and unfair trade practice prohibitions. The fallout could be serious, with reputational issues and legal action in several places. Any considerable increase should be justified by rising costs. No matter how well-intentioned, senior leaders should seek legal advice before engaging into any transaction with a competitor. However, due to disruptive decisions, some businesses may be unable to complete their pandemic response. Implementing short-term shortages that could result in significant price increases is unlikely to recover the business in the long run if consumers are exploited. For instance, in the global issues, the Washington State Attorney General recently ordered 5 Washington businesses to stop selling expensive protective masks, hand sanitizer, and other such items on Amazon.com or risk legal action and fines. This is unquestionably damaging to the economic industry, as consumers were forced to make decisions in order to optimize happiness, which can lead to income disruption and result in the segregation of individuals into standards and categories notably the able and the disabled.
As you already know, along this COVID-19, many workers claiming they have to find new work after being dismissed or having their firms closed down during MCO 1.0 last year. As business reduce employment to compensate for lost revenue, there is concern that this may lead to downward economic spiral as these newly unemployed workers are unable to purchase as many goods and services as they formerly could. Furthermore, scarcity refers to our limited in economics. For your information, this could take the form of real assets like gold, oil, land, or it could take the form of the money, labor, and capital. Because our resources are limited, we must select between these possibilities, resulting in opportunity cost. When resources are limited, we must decide how to best utilize them. This, however, is dependent on the resources we purchase. The scarcity of a resource, for example, increase is wealth. Diamonds are extremely uncommon and valuable, and they are limited resources, especially during this pandemic. It is hard for people to get their work back. At the same time, it is a resources that is high demand around the world, implying that is in high demand but has a limited availability.
Okay, the conclusion is we must have a good strategy to overcome the problem. Okay, just take a look at the current situation where a lot of employees were laid off from their job because of COVID-19. Okay, they have suffered a loss of source of income. So to overcome their problems, they can create an online business like creating a Lazada or Shopee account to sell items. Okay, for example, they can be an agent of a product and promote it on their business account on social media so that they can get their income back. Okay, next, there are many things that Malaysia has learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in relation to the poverty situation. Although situational poverty may only befall a person for a temporary period of time, its impact is considerable on the economic, social, and psychological well-being. Its recovery also depends on the current economic situation and requires a strong strategy from the government. However, with the commitment and strategy implemented by Malaysia, it seems that Malaysia is well prepared to face the poverty situation. Okay, besides, the companies who are affected by COVID-19, companies need to use 6 strategies to control the COVID-19 outbreak and economic recovery. The Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the first approach involved resolving in controlling the spread of the COVID-19 epidemic, such as through an implementation of the Movement Control Order (MCO). He said the second approach was to build resilience through the Prihatin economic stimulus package to improve the capabilities of the people and the economy. Third is regenerate or restart the economy in an orderly and controlled manner. Fourth is implement an economic recovery strategy in the face of the new normal. Fifth is to empower or revitalize the economy as a hope for a sake of the future, and 6 to restructure or reform the economic structure to enable the country and its brother and sister to move into an era of life that has changed with the new normal, he said, while delivering the Prime Minister's special message in conjunction with Labor Day today. Okay, last but not least, the government needs to reduce the recruitment of foreign workers and send them back to their country. Hence, the government also needs to close down factories or hire unemployed locals to work in companies or factories. This will increase the country's economy, and the country's unemployment rate can also be reduced. For example, on March 17, Ghana closed admission to foreign visitors who had been in the worst affected countries in the last 14 days. However, Ghanaian citizens and residents remain excluded. Mandatory quarantine orders are mandatory of anyone entering the country. So that's all from me. Thank you.